Happy birthday to Freddy Krueger. oh, November 9th marks the 40th anniversary to Freddy Krueger and the whole Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. What a better way to end October in the Halloween season with an homage to the movies. But not just the movies, the legacy beyond the films. I'm Victor, and straight out of the Gen Experience, Freddy at 40, and how the magic of marketing can make any 80s idea better, even an infamous horror movie villain who only existed in our worst nightmares. Plenty has been said of the R-rated sci-fi movie properties like Aliens getting the action figure treatment in toy stores, and of the cartoon and toy line that derived from the sexual comedy film franchise known as Police Academy. But when a disfigured serial killer is brought to life with a talking doll, action figure, a bevy of other random merchandise and promotional media, you have to wonder, what were we thinking? It was the 80s, and Freddy Krueger's sardonic wit and sadistic humor not only fit perfectly into Gen X,
no running in the hallway,
but to be immortalized in both pop culture and plastic. Freddy might turn 40 on November 9th, but he's not forgotten. His legacy is almost as strong as it was during his first big decade when the surprise hit for New Line Cinema debuted in theaters in 1984. Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger, and Nancy made marketing the sudden blockbuster a priority. But just how do you promote such a questionable character? Treading lightly at first with the sensitive subject matter, the risk would be worth it in the long run. After Freddy's Revenge, the odd but cult classic sequel with its erotic subplots and seemingly out-of-place possession angle from 1985, Freddy was quickly taking the lead over the quirky and quiet Michael Myers and the big hulking silent type Jason Voorhees. Fred had what they didn't, a mocking mouthpiece.
This is God.
A forked tongue greased with one-liners and witty comebacks. Used sparingly to unnerve the viewers at first, just like his image, Freddy's vicious voice was riddled with contempt for his victims.
It's the chair for you, kid!
Punchlines that were key to making Freddy top dog, at least as a main villain. Nightmare on Elm Street quickly passed its contemporaries in popularity for a time, and Freddy's sarcastic personality, although still developing, matched the 80s attitude, and that of Gen Xers.
You've got the body. I've got the brain.
Marketing was still wary with how to move forward to merchandise their misshapen marvel without crossing the line. That was going to be tricky with something so in-your-face frightening and evil. So where do you start? Posters. They're unassuming. Kids and even parents thought little of having a poster of the burned antagonist next to a poster of Elle Macpherson, or a tongue-in-cheek street sign mounted on their bedroom wall, like I had. But marketing also appealed to the niche collector community at the time, offering model kits very reminiscent of Aurora's monsters of the 60s and 70s attracted an audience that was not as mainstream as we see today. The reception for Freddy's Revenge might have been just above average, but if there was any doubt about the longevity of Freddy Krueger and his franchise, those would evaporate with the release of Part 3, Dream Warriors, cementing Freddy as an icon and securing the franchise on the map. New Line Cinema was about to promote the shit out of their reigning Killer King. It was 1987, and Nancy returns to help Elm Street teenagers deal with their nightmares in Dream Warriors. Having to wait about 15 months for the third installment, Freddy needed some time to feel like himself again after Part 2. This go-round, we would get the Freddy we remember, and then some. Oh, and the money. People were all in by this time. On a $3.5 million budget, Dream Warriors made $45 million. The first two films had only made $27 and $29 million respectively. So this was fire, but not the kind Freddy's afraid of. He was a bona fide star, not to mention Nancy. Although, spoiler, she gets it in the end of this one, but goes down even more badass, taking her place in history as one of the top final girls. Naysayers of Nightmare or its
filthy child murderer
now knew the score, and New Line Cinema was living a marketing dream. They weren't falling asleep on the job after the success of Dream Warriors. It's like they'd never sleep again, preparing for the onslaught of promotional material and possible merchandising deals to come. And when they came, they immediately came for the kids.
Won't somebody please think of the children?
The Collegeville Halloween costume debuted in 1987. This Ben Cooper-esque mask, with its slight resemblance to Freddy, also came with a striped shirt. Black pants, not provided, and things like bladed gloves could still be handmade at this point. Sticking with Halloween, we get our first inflatable decoration. These aren't like today's blow-up animated lawn figures, but more like a pool toy to stand in front of your house for unsuspecting trick-or-treaters. Also in '87, Victory Games created the first Nightmare on Elm Street board game. If anyone knows how it was played or had it, please let us know in the comments. Freddy knew his bread and butter and planned to return for Part 4 in the film series. However, before his next premiere in August of 1988, he would test the waters with some side hustles that made bank while audiences waited about a year and a half for the next theatrical experience. To keep fans dreaming of their next encounter with the nocturnal nightmare, New Line Cinemas created the Freddy Krueger Fan Club. Fan clubs were not uncommon. They ranged from Archie Comics to the A-Team and Wayne Gretzky to Star Wars, and everything in between. Freddy joined the fray, and with a little extra cash, you could have your own membership card. Don't leave home without it, and all the benefits that came with. 3 bloody photos in living color. Your very own wallet photo to treasure always, Freddy's life story, and the Freddy Times to keep you up to date on the exploits of your favorite fiend. Freddy had branched out into the music scene too. Heavy metal, of course. Singing the title track for the movie was metal band Dokken. This was the era of cassette singles, and one that sported the Elm Street logo was well worth the birthday money from Grandma. How many of you heard Dokken the first time because of Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and became a fan? If you wore out that song with repeated plays, you might have examined the packaging. If so, you wouldn't have missed this message. A Freddy Fan Club sounded pretty good, and according to this, there was nothing like it. Oh, and take note of a paperback version of the movie. That you'd probably never get. After paying shy of $13 to apply, you were also given the honor of opportunities to spend more of your money in a catalog of merchandise. Like this. Mostly movie posters and a few extras. All of this was to get you ready for the next film. And finally, it was time. Dream Master was out in theaters, and this 4th installment felt like we might have been heading down Trilogy of Terror territory until the final girl of Part 3, Kristen, dies, and we're left with Alice to survive and discover the truth about Freddy's lineage and how to kill him. As the credits rolled, you wouldn't be waiting long to see Freddy in action once again. After racing to see the new Nightmare at the end of summer '88, fall would provide your Freddy fix. Those too sophisticated for the fan club joined Freddy each week for his syndicated hour-long television series. Frankly, I have no idea how Robert Englund had the time between filming the movies to do this. It's true that Freddy was not the antagonist in this anthology series, but the host, a crypt keeper of sorts, but he kept it close to home, bookending the episodes that all took place in Springwood and were all dream or nightmare-related horrors. I love the show, as well as the Friday the 13th anthology too. I thought it was great to see Freddy give a little smart-ass opening and wind up the show with some cynical send-off of the tragic outcome. This TV show ran for 2 seasons and 44 episodes in syndication, and did quite well. Even going as far as to give the world a Nightmare on Elm Street prequel. 2 episodes starred the acerbic lead, with one being his origin story that showed Robert Englund out of makeup as Freddy prior to being burned alive for his atrocious crimes by the parents of the Elm Street neighborhood. Did you watch this totally 80s fright fest?
That was then. This is now.
Lexany International, some random import, provided us this Freddy Krueger stick-up toy in 1988. Now who would make sure to get this and keep it stuck in their high school locker? Guilty. The energy from Freddy's real breakout performance as the wisecracking comic book supervillain from 1987 didn't slow in 1988 and would explode in 1989. Almost a year to the day, Dream Child, the 5th in the series, debuted to audiences and concluded the story started in Part 3. The last of the Elm Street kids, Springwood's lore expanded, and Freddy's mother taking part in the final fight. But is anything really final in the world of Freddy? There seemed to be no end to this nightmare or the allure of Krueger himself, and with that, marketing no longer gave a damn. They pulled everything out of their dreams and into reality, And you could pull the string to hear our melted menace shout unmentionables to you with your talking Freddy Krueger from Matchbox. Yeah, the Matchbox toy car people. He's got a special message just for you whenever you pull his cord.
Welcome to Elm Street. Let's be friends. Watch out, Freddy's back.
Imagine laying down to sleep each night with that curled under your arm. Cozy. Then there was the action figure. Matchbox had debuted an ill-fated toy line that had a great premise, but somehow wasn't able to keep up. Max FX, now playing, was a toy line featuring a quick change artist and master of special effects named Max. A poor man's original G.I. Joe, instead of accessories and appropriate outfits for certain tasks like excavating a mummy's tomb or searching for a radioactive satellite. Max came with costumes to become infamous Hollywood characters, mostly monsters. The toy line was set with Max as Frankenstein's monster, the Wolfman, and even the alien from that franchise. There was no accompanying media, nor any other side characters or film crew to interact with, so playability of these snap-on costume pieces and figure were limited, and peculiar to say the least. An incredible toy line that never was. Freddy was the only set released, even as a Jason Voorhees was planned before the whole brand got the axe. The company LJN got into the action with the Freddy figure. This static figure with a vaguely familiar pose did seem to exude the attitude to which we were becoming accustomed to from our fedora-wearing friend. It is exactly how it sounds. Purchased at any nearby store, the Freddy Squish'em allowed you to fold, bend, wad, or whatever you dreamt up for your little nightmare. But if you want a little something else with your squish, LJN also made Nightmare on Elm Street Spitballs. These tiny spherical faces were hollow and could be filled with water. When squeezed, not squished, a long spit of water would jet out from a tiny hole in the mouth. 18 feet! The mouth of either Freddy, which is so disgusting you might need penicillin, or one of Freddy's hapless victims. Jason Voorhees never found the success on the toy shelves at the time. And to be clear, we're not talking collectible stores or those areas put aside for the adult collector. That business model wasn't even fully developed or common at the time. No, we're talking the shelves of Toys R Us in the 80s and the early 90s. Freddy was in good company, as he would stand tall and shout out barbs right next to the best of them.
Hi, I'm Freddy. I know you are, but what am I?
Right, Pee-wee? And it didn't end there. Why not have more repulsive fun with a Freddy squirt gun? He's got all kinds of tricks up his sleeve with his own personalized yo-yo. And we can't forget the Topps trading cards, part of the Fright Flicks collection of various horror icons. The most horrible thing about this collection? The atrocious broken pink pieces they tried to pass off as gum included in each pack. I could go on and on in regards to comic incarnations, the graphic novelization of the movies, and countless other literary adventures. He wasn't bound by just toys. In the 1980s, when kids dared to dial 900 numbers, Freddy didn't hold back. He joined the other 900 numbers, but instead of horny adult themes, you could call Freddy for a variety of storytelling and anecdotes by Freddy himself. Starting in 1987 or 88, besides the phone number changing, the content evolved from first pushing the fan club
Join the Freddy Fan Club. Freddy
into something that could rack up hundreds in toll fees easily after the $2.95 first minute and 99 cents after that. It was easy for a kid to lose track of time and endure the wrath of his dad with an inflated phone bill. The Ghostbusters had great success in '84 with their own marketing phone line. But in the annals of horror, Freddy's ran to 1992 and inspired Chucky to do the same, another wise-ass serial killer with a wicked sense of humor. And then there was the Halloween phone line for Michael Myers. It seemed like that would be a trifle one-sided, besides the deep breathing heard from under the mask. Sounds like any other 900 number to me. Actually, those who called reported hearing a victim on the other line and helping them to escape the babysitter killer. We can't ignore that Freddy's Fan Club was booming by this time. Besides a membership card, you might get a piece of storyboard art, as well as an opportunity to get more incredible merchandise that had been developed. No holds barred as New Line went beyond posters and masks, offering you and your big rocker hair or mullet watches, the new board game, a calendar, or Lee denim jackets. And we can't forget the Claude glove earring. Totally rad. Not willing to let Elvira get the entire theme park spotlight during her annual Not Scary Farms in October, Freddy went on tour with Fright Nights at Six Flags, even having his own Halloween house. Here you could have won a trip to Six Flags and meet Freddy himself on one of his many tour stops. In a city home to Six Flags, of course. Freddy and the Nightmare brand was everywhere, even in your house, not just on VHS, but on your terms with an LJN video game. A number of horror movie madmen got digitized, and you could spend hours trying to escape various settings in nightmarish 8-bit from the comfort of your own living room. What a time to be alive, am I right? 1991's Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, had such a convoluted and lackluster storyline, it should have marked the end of the franchise. And it did until 1994, when New Nightmare, starring the stars of the original, Robert Englund and Heather Langenkamp as actors, with Wes Craven playing himself as the director. This meta premise is one of the most original and one likely to have caused a scream inside Wes for an incredibly unique film series starting in 1996. Overall, in that original decade of Nightmare on Elm Street, it is now ranked third, only behind the Halloween and Friday the 13th film franchises. Third isn't bad, but I doubt Freddy sees it that way. What I see was the 80s were incredible, filled with content and media and merchandising unmatched today. But it was something that not only made it fun, but has left us so much worth talking about even now. I hope you enjoyed Freddy at 40, his legacy beyond the films and the merchandising insanity that is Nightmare on Elm Street. In your dreams for 40 years. Thanks for joining me for the show, and if you don't consider liking and subscribing, I might have to haunt you in your dreams. I'm kidding. No, really. Check out other great content, and happy Halloween. Until next time.